Frankenstein, Dracula, werewolves, phantoms, zombies, gorgons, mad scientists, abominable snowmen. These are the monsters that they have created. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Ingrid Pitt, Veronica Carson, Oliver Reed, Madeline Smith, Barbara Shelley, Michael Gow, Hazel Court, Bartine Beswick. These are the people that faced the horrors. Jimmy Sangster, Terrence Fisher, Michael Carreras, Peter Sasty, John Elder, Evan Jones, Anthony Hines. These are the people who created the horrors behind Hammer Studios. Welcome to Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, your gateway into classic horror cinema, brought to you by Broken Lighthouse Pictures and Something Wicked Entertainment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. I am your host, Kevin Dale Powers. I'm also the owner operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Event, and I want to welcome you to our program today. So, if you have been listening to our program, which I really do hope that you have been, what we do is we take an individual Hammer Studio film, and me and my special guest kind of critique, analyze, discuss this amazing film. If you've never seen it before, you will know what the heck you're getting into when you watch it. And if you have seen it before, hopefully some of the insight that we bring to the movie will allow you to enjoy it even more when you go out and seek it for another watch. That being said, the film that we're going to be discussing today is actually part of our discussion about the Frankenstein movies that Hammer put out. And we are now on The Evil of Frankenstein from 1964. And to discuss this movie with me, I have returning with me Mr. Thomas Tinnerello and Mr. Dave Watkins. I want to thank you both for joining me on the show today.
Good to be back for more Hammer, man. Thanks for having us, or me. I guess Thomas can thank you himself.
Thank you, Kevin. I am alive.
If he really wants to thank you.
We all love to talk about Hammer Studio films here, and we have been discussing. What is this, number 3 or 4?
It is the third one.
Third,
we're on the third one now of the Frankenstein films. And so none of us were alive when this movie was originally released, so we will hopefully have different aspects of how we came to it and what our opinions are of it. So I guess that will be how we will start this out. Kind of tell us a little bit about what your first time seeing this film was and kind of your impressions, if you remember that. How about you start with us, Dave?
Right. So this one, like most of these Hammer Frankensteins, I watched them not too long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I just watched them all together. This one is... They got the rights to the Universal monster for the first time, and this one is in a lot of ways a reboot of the whole series. Everything is different, even though at first you think it might be similar to Curse of Frankenstein, but when it has a flashback sequence, you realize that they've redone everything. So I'll get into more about my opinion later. I don't want to throw it all out at one time. But
okay, how about you, Thomas?
Well, thanks, Watkins, for giving us a bearing on where this falls in the Franken canon, as we're going to call it now, the Frankenverse. Because I was about to say that. Anyway, but yeah, I think I first saw a chunk of this on the Sci-Fi Channel back when it was the Sci-Fi Channel and not Thiefy. And because they were having a marathon of either Frankenstein movies or specifically Hammer. Oh, yes, it was Hammer. I remember they were showing Hammer specifically because it was the same night that they had, I think they were showing all these movies and they had Christopher Lee hosting.
That's awesome.
And I remember, yes, because right after this, they showed Horror Express. And that was the first time I'd ever seen, Horror Express. And I just distinctly remember Christopher Lee going, this film has many, many titles, including Horror of the Blood Monster, but we here at the Sci-Fi Channel affectionately call it Horror Express. So, yes, I don't remember his intro for this movie. I imagine he probably would be like, kind of like Peter Vincent in Fright Night, being like, this one I do not star in this one. He's not the monster in this one or in any way associated with this one. But yeah, so that was my first inclination. The two things that stick out to me from that first viewing is like how is that little bit where Frankenstein comes back, Peter Cushing's Frankenstein, comes back to his old house and just sees it in ruins and just like says to himself, why won't they leave me alone? Why can't they just leave me alone? And the other part is that image of seeing the monster encased in ice in the glacier, like the
Yeah.
Thing.
But that's actually like a callback to the Universal Frankenstein films. It happens in three of them, like three times it happens. It happens in Wolfman versus Frankenstein, the
Oh,
House of Frankenstein, and the House of Dracula.
I thought it had happened in Son of Frankenstein, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, the first time it happens is the Wolfman one. All three of them have the Wolfman involved with it too. It's like it's funny how they just kept going back to it in that. But here, though, it is cool that they find him in ice again.
Right. Hey, Kevin, real quick before just brief segue. Have we on the flagship podcast, have we done Son of Frankenstein?
We have not.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, because I put me on for that one if we do it, because I've got many memories of watching Son of Frankenstein with my dad. So
Basil Rathbone plays
Basil
Rathbone. That's actually what Young Frankenstein for the most part is spoofing to begin with, is that one.
yeah.
But absolutely. Even though it does have elements of the other ones as well, but mostly that.
Yeah, so I think the first time I ever watched this movie, Evil of Frankenstein, last year in prep for this podcast. So there's so much of it was, new to me. Of course, as I get older and rewatch things from my childhood, it's almost like, wow, I don't remember this. And then you say to yourself, wait, I never actually saw this movie. I saw parts of it. And then I changed the channel because I got bored or I wanted to play with my toys or something. So finally, it's almost like, how people will be like, man, I wish I could go back and erase my memory of my favorite movie so I could see it again for the first time. Well, it's kind of like that. I think that's just, people who say that themselves, just wait till you get to your 40s and 50s, guys. That'll happen. We're just, memory.
Yeah. No, it shit happens to me all the time. I'm like, I know I've watched a movie. I even have a copy of it. I go to watch it again. I'm like, I don't remember shit about this movie as I'm watching it.
Well, your library is vast, David Watkins. Your library could be its own video store. Dave Watkins DVD Dungeon, if we could call it that. And I'm wondering, Dave, have you ever bought a movie like at least twice and not realized you've done it?
I think I did do that recently, actually. I bought that Ronin movie with Robert De Niro in it.
Oh,
it was on sale. I bought it once, and then like a while later, I bought it again, and I went to put it on the shelf, and there's already one there, and I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah, so I had to sell it, but
I do all the time.
But yeah, very rarely. It's happened recently though, man. But but at the same time, even though I have a lot of movies and I watch them, I think that before. At one point, there was the streaming stuff actually gets even worse. When you watch something on streaming, it's a lot easier to forget it then because you watch it on streaming and you haven't really invested anything in it, so it doesn't matter that much when you're watching it. And later on, you did watch it. It happens to me a few times, and I'm like, I watched it on streaming, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
hardly.
Yeah,
but a lot of times, but these movies, these Frankenstein movies, that's another thing about these Hammer films. We've been watching a lot of them, and they start to kind of blend together after a while.
No, yeah, I agree with you. Like my when I first saw this film, maybe 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years ago, I had not watched any of these films in order. So it wasn't until this rewatch that I realized that this isn't a direct sequel to the first one. Yeah. This is an early version of a reboot, because obviously, as we all know, Frankenstein was more or less decapitated and thought dead the first time around. And of course, he wasn't in the second movie. But in this one, they never actually decapitated him at all. They just ran him out of town.
Well, if you remember, like in the end of Revenge of Frankenstein, he gets beat up like so bad he's about to die. And then that other doctor like really like changes him to another body. Yeah. Who still looks like Peter Cushing. And that's how that one ends. But this one, the whole the Lord, everything's changed. The reason why he's kicked out of town, because like what you're thinking, and I remember that too, what Thomas said about that. That's very memorable about him coming back and seeing his house all torn up.
Yeah.
And it just in that idea that when he says that they're always like trying to destroy everything that he does, or whatever he says there, that's a completely new idea because but it makes him more of a victim in this one. Before he's almost been the antagonist.
Yeah.
Here he is presented as a victim, and he does a lot more likable stuff throughout the film. He's more friendly to his assistant, and he doesn't have that same. They did a lot of work trying to make this character more likable.
Oh yeah, he harkens back to, I guess, again, the Universal.
Yes.
Is more of the Universal Frankenstein, the beleaguered, misunderstood genius.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the first guy, the version of Frankenstein I kind of prefer, which is basically like glorified Herbert West, but with funnier zingers, the sociopath.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of like that more, just because this version that we get here is, let's face it, this is really more of a kind of the standard version of the character. But Peter Cushing playing that standard version makes it more interesting because he is just completely 100% dedicated to realism, to authenticity. Like, I never feel like Peter Cushing is acting. I feel like he's just being the guy.
Right. Yeah. He's definitely not phoning it in. He's there. And he does some work to make the character, I guess, more relatable. But like, I agree with you. I like it better when he's a sociopath and and it's more fun. But they do try to make him the victim here, and it does work for the most part. You make the like the people in town, like the burgomaster and the chief of police, they're more the villains than anybody. And they've kicked him out of they basically kicked him out of town, and they told him not to come back. But when he comes back, before you know that, you're thinking about the other films where him coming back is going to be him at the guillotine. But the stakes aren't as high as that. What I was saying earlier about, and what you mentioned about coming back to the house and seeing it in shambles, that is really quite a striking scene, and it is something that stands out. It makes it very interesting in the first part of the film.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of almost a metaphor for the entire movie itself, where like he can't let the past go. He can never leave it fully behind. And, we're getting ahead of ourselves here with some mild spoilers, but let's just say that his apparent demise at the end of this movie is because he keeps trying to save this thing that he made, which, again, mild spoilers, like, this is probably the only Frankenstein movie in this series where he does not create a monster. He revives a monster.
Well, he creates it in the flashback, though. But you see
the flashback, but that's a flashback. In the movie proper, this is really about him reviving an old creature. It's supposed to be his first creature in this new timeline, where which we assume this is almost like, this feels like the third or fourth or maybe even the fifth movie in this weird kind of alternate reality sequel.
Right, and I'm really glad they didn't start over all the way. And But like they did in Horror of Frankenstein later on. But I'm glad they start where you're thinking you're watching something from the other two films, but it turns out being different. It is nice that they don't just redo the whole thing, because it's almost like Batman's parents getting killed in every friggin' movie. You've seen it and you don't want to see it again.
Yeah, we don't want to see, or Superman. It's one of those things that we don't want to see. And everyone who does a Frankenstein movie has done the same story more or less over and over again. They just changed little details. I like it too. It just like jumped ahead of the story, the main story. So
yep. So, and the film kind of opens weirdly. It opens on an old couple leaving their dilapidated looking shack with their dead son's corpse lying with a nice crucifix on his chest. And then their daughter, who's home alone, apparently like sees the corpse, gets pulled out the window by a creepy looking dude. She runs into the forest, and it's Hammer night, so it's broad daylight, but they put a blue filter over it. And
Well, the good thing about Frankenstein, unlike Dracula, is they can be
but it's still pay for night.
Yeah. But I want to mention something about that first
Sure.
shot. It reminded me a lot of like something out of Friday the 13th. Even
Really?
this is way before Friday the 13th. It starts off on a shot of the lake, and
Yeah.
then it pans over to the dilapidated house, and then it shows that guy's hand comes up and grabs this branch like something like Jason would do later on. It's like,
Oh yeah.
and the guy looks like he's an Undertaker. He looks like an Undertaker. He's got a black hat on. He's got a cool look. All right, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that the camera like zooms twice and lingers on that crucifix that's left behind when the body is taken.
Yeah.
But the priest comes and finds like the grave robbing.
Yeah.
Oh, what could be done about this evil thing? And then cut to the guy who did this evil thing, Frankenstein, in his watermill some laboratory. This is like
He's got like some kind of rustic cabin, but it's got like the laboratory looks pretty cool though.
It's cool. It's claustrophobic
Yeah.
though. It looks really small.
Well, it's like a cabin, like shack thing, a really small cabin. But he's been that's the best he could come up with at that point, I think.
Yeah, he's the fugitive doctor. He's been going from town to town trying to create life and or revive things that are dead, and just nothing ever works out for him. It's just another time where he's stealing a body.
It's because they always destroy everything, is what he says in that scene.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
The next scene.
I don't know. I don't know if he in this film he's more like the what is it called? The reanimator who goes from town to town. But because for this film, they actually Frankenstein actually mentions that he did all those odd jobs just to save up enough money to be able to continue his work. It seems like he was not beneath becoming a working stiff to could pursue his dream. Like,
yeah.
But
that's what I would have liked to. That's what I would have liked to have seen more of. See what sort of odd jobs would Baron von Frankenstein subject himself to? Would he be like janitor at the local pub? Just see him swabbing some vomit and alcohol off the floor, spit shine some goblets. That would have been so much fun.
But that priest comes in there and wrecks the laboratory, and he has like a brand new heart he took from that dude.
Yes.
And then, but before that happens, there is a credit sequence that shows him actually taking the heart out and all that. But then the priest comes in there and then does all that, and then they like have a light fight with the priest, and he runs off. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish.
I don't know either. But apparently that first incision that he makes when he's during the credit sequence, that they were supposed to do like a sound effect with like crushing a head of cabbage.
Okay.
They're supposed to represent like the cutting of the bone and the sinew.
Yeah.
And it would have been, if you know what, crushing a head of cabbage, which Foley artists still do, to simulate the crunching of bones and the wrecking of flesh.
I've done that before, man. I've Foleyed with some cabbage before. I got some pretty good sound bites from it.
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
Yeah. So they would have done that, but the British Board of Film Censors forced them to cut it out. Meanwhile, on the set, Peter Cushing is pulling the technical advisor over, and he's like, am I holding the scalpel correctly? I need to make sure I get it right. Because he was very precise about making sure the doctors in the audience were like, yep, that's good, very good. There's very, very good technique with this scalpel.
Right. And I believe it. When he's doing it, I believe it. And it is like, it is good that it doesn't show it, I guess, because it's when you see that type of stuff, it is a little gruesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this is even the time period, it may have been, stretching the censors, but it was never going to do that much. Like in this day and age, we'd see the whole thing. We'd see it all open up. We'd see the heart getting pulled out and everything in this day.
I guess it depends on the audience for the movie. If it was like it all depends on the audience. If they want a PG-13 audience, they're not going to do it. Which a lot of times they want that, because they can make more money.
They can make more money on
this was way before the PG. This is way before the PG-13 was even invented, though.
This is Gothic horror time period, guys. We got to we're all about mood and atmosphere, and this does a lot of great stuff that in the very first 5-10 minutes, because it's all part of the credit sequence that we're watching this. We know exactly what type of movie we're getting into based on this credit sequence.
Yeah, and most people wear hearts on their sleeve. Jared Frankenstein, he wears a heart on a fish tank.
But it does, like, when those credits pop up, there's just some really over-the-top dramatic music that it's like it's pretty hilarious, really.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just like just real intense for a minute. My subtitles when I was watching actually said dramatic music when it came up.
My son, when he was young and just learning how to talk, when he was like 6 years old or something, he was just like he would read the subtitles to everything.
Yeah.
And barely when he was just barely learning how to read, and sometimes he would read all the sound effects, and he would be like dramatic music.
Yeah, man.
Well,
the kids say some hilarious stuff sometimes. Yes.
Well, once the priest disrupts all of Frankenstein and Hans, because we have to mention Hans, because Hans is insisted is a major part of the story. Hans, the priest destroys their lab there. They're forced to leave, to move, and that sets up the rest of the film where Frankenstein and Hans go back to
Karlstad.
Karlstad. Not to be confused with Carlsbad in Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
Karlstad.
Of course, there's also Carl Stein in the Twins of Evil we were talking about recently.
But they go back there because that's where Frankenstein originally was from. His old experiments were there, and he's supposedly not allowed to go back there because he's been more or less ostracized and kicked out.
Right. There's some dialogue that says it's been 10 years.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say, I thought there was something.
Yeah, there is. This isn't a direct continuation of Curse of Frankenstein, but Curse of Frankenstein was 6 years earlier. But of course, it doesn't keep continuity with that. You think it is, but it's not.
Yeah, no, until the flashback, before he starts explaining stuff, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, so this doesn't follow the previous two that we've already discussed in the program. This is its own little reboot here, which is nice, I mean,
if you think about it, like, where could they have possibly gone from that old continuity? I mean, sorry, I'm so used to saying Dracula. No, Frankenstein is now in swinging London. Well, not swinging London. That's a specific 60s era thing. But he's in London, swanky London. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. He's in swanky London with a new face with a mustache. He's got a successful seeming practice. And he's probably going to do something like that again. But he's not learning anything. He doesn't grow as a person. I mean, what more can he possibly do except, maybe have like a crossover movie with Dracula? But that would be weird because he usually plays Van Helsing. So I think it was probably, it was disconcerting at first, but yeah, if you're going to keep doing this, you either do one more and have him actually die in that one, which I'm sure must have been something that was brandied about. Like, can we actually kill him?
He dies in every one of them almost, even though he comes back in the next one. Well, I guess technically in the second one he doesn't die, but in most of them, like Dracula, he does die at the end of it, it seems like he died.
Yeah, he seems like it. They always have to have some kind of dramatic art to it, but like even like, but I think which one? Is which is Frankenstein Created Woman, where he's doing soul transference,
right?
Because so by then
he got really bizarre for that.
He's pretty much immortal for that point because all he has to do is just like, get a new body to put his soul in. Doesn't even require surgery at that point. So
the only drawback is it might require a recasting of Peter Cushing, which nobody wants.
Yeah, nobody wants that. Or they could have done like Quantum Leap before Quantum Leap. Yeah. They could have had him be Christopher.
Christopher Cushing.
Peter Cushing. This is gonna be the whole show, isn't it? Just me screwing up and confusing it for a Dracula movie. No, Peter Cushing. You can have him be Peter Cushing when the camera's on him, but whenever he looks at himself in the mirror, it's that person's body. Yeah. And that could have been neat. I would have loved to have seen that. And like I said before, I think in a previous Frankenstein thing, they also could have done a thing where like they could have followed the Dracula franchise and just taken this immortal Frankenstein into the modern era with like his umpteenth body and still trying to make a monster, but this time he's got it because he's got modern technology now at his disposal. So
they like to reboot these things because it makes it so you can tell the whole story in a movie without having to see the other movies. They like them to be standalone because, especially at this time, you didn't have access to the previous ones. If you missed it in the theater, you weren't going to see it.
Right. Because they didn't have VHS. Back then.
They didn't even have Netflix or nothing.
Yeah, back in them olden days with the dinosaurs.
They didn't have the Netflix mail DVDs yet.
Oh yeah. Oh, they didn't even have that back then. I'll tell you what.
But would we get the Carl's Stad? Yeah, Carl Stad. The first thing it cuts to like a red-haired, what she's billed as a beggar girl in this version. There's an American version too. It's really hilarious. I don't know if you guys saw that. But it's got different scenes in it.
It does.
Oh man, it's bad though. It's like all the added scenes are bad. There's no scenes that are added that have any connecting characters in it. It's got like one scene is like in Carlsbad where you see this lawyer guy come in and talk to this doctor guy, and they're talking about the beggar girl. They call her Renee. They actually name her in that one, and then they talk about that, and then they talk about Frankenstein coming. But these guys never interact with anybody, and it keeps cutting back to them at different points, and them just having these really bad acting too. Not directed by Freddie Francis, who directed this one, but it's something to behold though. It's almost the whole movie that way. I would just fast forward and watch the new scenes. But anyway, so in the real movie, not the American version of it, the television, we see the beggar girl, who's also called Renee in the American version. But we meet her, and she's just red-haired girl outside, and these guys are just bullying her for some reason over a bowl. And then she beats one of the guys up and pulls his hair. It's pretty hilarious. And then she runs off, and then they all take off after her. They all got these crazy masks because there's a fair carnival going on in town.
Yep.
But
and she's mute. You find out she cannot speak,
and she's deaf too, apparently.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah. And I don't know if it's clear that she can't. Well, I guess she is. But anyway,
it says she's deaf at one point. They actually
says that. Yeah. Okay, but it's funny though because again, kudos to the American version for giving this woman a name. Thank God. Yeah. So maybe just call her that from now on. Yeah. But anyway, but it's so funny. Like when you look this movie up on IMDb, you would think she's the star of this movie because they have 15 photos of that one beggarly scene with the bowl. And you would think she's only the thing that's in this movie.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know. And she hasn't really done many other movies, but she's really good. I mean, I like the way she looked on camera. That red hair really stuck out.
Right.
Well, I agree, but I have a thing for redheads, and that's just me.
Yeah. I like redheads too, but it's, but it was she's kind of a cool character, but like you say, she's not the main character, but she is a major character. She's in the movie throughout it.
Played by Katie Wilde. So, Ms. Wilde, if you're still alive and you're still out there, and somebody somewhere in the UK hands you this podcast, God bless you. We love your work in this.
Yeah.
Well, she's an interesting character because once she's introduced and meets the other characters, Hans and Frankenstein, she's in the rest of the whole movie. Pretty much almost every scene that Hans is in, she's always there. And plus scenes that he's not in. I forgot she has certain scenes with just Frankenstein's monster as well. So,
she has scenes with Zoltan as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh gosh. We haven't even talked about him yet. He's like this weird villain of the piece, basically, because Frankenstein's not the villain anymore, and you're supposed to sympathize with the monster, so there's got to be some kind of antagonist here. And they could have had the priest be the antagonist who just kind of doggedly follows them. That would have been cool, but no, they decided not to do that. And
Zoltan, I like the character though.
He's a carnival mentalist that they run into in the most hilarious Keystone Copy sort of way, because Frankenstein basically, I think he starts a fight basically at the bar, and then the constables run after him and Hans, and they're trying to hide from the constables, and they end up going into the circus tent, and he ends up being the next guys that the Zoltan mentalist is I'm going to hypnotize you, and they do his thing, but you never actually see his whole act. Which is kind of funny.
Well, it does show him hypnotize this one guy though, because he's out there and he gets him to act like the creature, like Frankenstein's creature. He has him up on stage, and then he gets him to say some other stuff, and then so you kind of do see what he does. I mean, we should back it up to that bar scene a little bit. Which I think that's hilarious when he goes him and they go in there and they put these like what is it like? I was trying to think about what they look like. They look like not Lone Ranger, but that other one. The shit. I wrote it down. What was it? One of them, the one guy, the Hans guy looks like Robin with his damn mask on.
Oh yeah, there's masks and they
Green Hornet. Green Hornet. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
They're like Green Hornet and Kato.
Yeah. They kind of look like that. But then the thing is, they're not supposed to be in town. Frankenstein's not supposed to be there. He's not. He's been kicked out. He's been ordered by the police never to return. And they go in there and they sit down. They're trying to eat. And Frankenstein but he does have a certain. He's not going to put up with a lot of bullshit. Like the guy. The waiter guy, the landlord comes over there and he gives him some wine. He orders him over there and the guy's like, I'm really busy. And he's like, I need some wine. And then he gives him some and he's like, you need to pour that the rest of the way. Yeah. You need to pour it right. And you need to bring us some soup and some bread. And the guy's like, we're not serving food. And he's like, well, legally you have to because of this and that and that. He's like, go get our soup and bread, as I said, to go do it now. He's in a situation where he's not supposed to be there, but he's still gonna like
he's gonna act himself.
He's still going to be egotistical. And then he sees the Burgomeister over there with his ring that the Burgomeister stole from him. And instead of just letting it go, he flips it out and he starts yelling to the point that draws the attention of the police. And then they figure out that he's there. But what do you guys think about him not concerned about getting caught at that point?
Well, again, it's just he can't let go of the past.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that till you guys mentioned that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting to look at Frankenstein because that actually is the reason why so much stuff happens to him. He just can't let go of the past. He has this ideal of when he was really successful and he had this clout and he had all this money and stuff and it was all stripped away from him. And he all this stuff that happens with the constable and the Burgomaster when he eventually goes to the Burgomaster's house is because he just can't let it go. He can't let
Yeah.
The Burgomaster is like a mayor, but he's like a clown. It's actually fairly hilarious.
Yeah.
He's got like a really young, blonde, hot wife that is like, I guess because of his money, his trophy wife. It's the whole. It's silly, but it's hilarious.
And then Frankenstein does like a James Bond where he says hello lady, and then swings outside he does the old escape from the balcony by using the bed sheets, ties bed sheets together.
She does look impressed by the whole thing.
She does. She's smiling the whole time. She's like, oh.
Yeah. It's fairly comical, some of the parts of it, especially earlier on like that. Which is a weird thing about this film. I noticed I didn't notice it as I was watching it the first couple of times, but there's no deaths in it until really far into the film.
Oh yeah,
it's like really far into it, but we do get to see a lot of cool stuff, and they do a lot of good work with the comedy and trying to make you feel like Frankenstein's a victim. But it's really odd the way there's not that much violence until maybe the last third of the film.
Yeah, I think that may have been a thing that I think the British Board of Film Censors was probably cracking down on that sort of thing in the mid '60s because I vaguely remember them talking about that during the special features for Dracula Prince of Darkness, which came around shortly after this movie.
It was pretty close at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. But, so because this, and of course when the monster usually kills people, he's either he's strangling them. He likes to strangle people, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's the most,
but even in even in that in the flashback, he doesn't kill anybody. He kills a bunch of, I guess, goats. I guess they are, maybe.
I think he's sheep. Yeah, I think he kills some sheep.
Yeah, he kills some sheep, and but that he doesn't kill anybody. And then they track him down, and then he falls into the cavern, which ends up later being in ice for some reason.
Yeah. Now I will say the flashback creation sequence, which happens I think earlier in the movie when he's there in his. He's there in his old chateau that's been wrecked, and somebody put a hanged doll of Frankenstein up in his living room, and that's when he and goes back and remembers. Then basically we get a truncated version of what would have been the first movie of this alternate reality series. Yes. And what's cool though is he's probably got the best lab of any Frankenstein movie ever because it's gigantic, and it's got huge, really futuristic looking, electrical towers and things. The monster is put inside this long, I think, like fluorescent, like line tube thing that lights him up. And I love the shot where like the camera is fixed to the gurney the monster is on as it rises. So like the camera is like fixed with the monster's face, and all the lab just shifts around him. It's a really audacious shot for the time.
And because they had rights to the Universal Frankenstein, they were able to make that lab look like it does a better version of it than it does in the original Frankenstein films, the first two of them.
Yeah. Well, and he goes into the ice because it's a glacier. Like the whole mountain is a glacier, which boggles my mind a little bit because that means like the monster would have to like stay there for a very long time.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool thing to see when it happens, but I mean, if you don't want to think about it too much, it's like that in all of them, really. Usually he'll end up like in some of the other ones, the Universal ones, he ends up in a windmill burned, and then he falls down into it. One thing that happens is this is important later, but it may not seem that way. While he's telling the story, a little bit after that, they find some brandy in the house. It doesn't show him find it, but there's some. The place had been ransacked, and I'm surprised there's a bunch of stuff laying around there that people didn't steal, including a bunch of brandy. And Frankenstein starts drinking some of it. He takes like a really nice little glass, and he's sipping it like responsibly. But later on, it plays a big part in the rest of the film for people who do not responsibly drink.
Yeah, it's like
because they drink responsibly.
Because don't
you're
they
a mad scientist?
Well, don't they like pay Zoltan and brandy basically?
Yes. They don't intentionally do that. I think they were trying to try to pay him in that, and the Zoltan just like takes it to an extreme. He just keeps guzzling it. He's like guzzling that shit. He can't handle his liquor one bit.
Yeah, because getting ahead, we realized that like they ran into Zoltan, they see what he does, and after they find the monster in the ice while they're taking shelter in a cave from a gnarly thunderstorm, which by the way, I'm always a sucker for a good thunderstorm.
Yeah.
And they come in and they see the monster. Oh, Hans, help me thaw him. So they get some torches and thaw him out and get this poor frozen monster out. And they've revived him, but they found out that his brain is mangled for obvious reasons. And they just can't get him to calm down whenever they zap him back to life. And so, but Zoltan can, because he's a mentalist. And while the monster is in a semi-comatose state, he can communicate to him through hypnosis, and he's able to control the monster's movement through hypnosis. And Frankenstein's like, well, it's good, and it's a good enough solution while I figure out how to fix his brain.
Yeah. Right, yeah, and so it leaves Zoltan able to control the monster, but he comes up with a partnership with Frankenstein, which seems reasonable, because this Frankenstein, unlike the other versions of Frankenstein, is not going to like just randomly kill him like a sociopath would.
Yeah,
which you think he might, because you're still thinking he's like the other Frankenstein, other Peter Cushing Frankenstein from the first two movies, but he basically agrees to a partnership with the guy, and the guy keeps drinking the brandy and becomes more and more belligerent.
Well, I think he remains drunk after that for like.
Oh yeah. No, he just keeps drinking it, man.
Yeah, he just keeps drinking.
Yeah, they got lots of bottles of it too. There's like crates of that. He just keeps going. He even at one point almost rapes the beggar girl, but then decides not to because she's not worth his time. He's like, I'll find somebody better later. You're trash.
Yeah, and I'm sure in her brain she's like, "Thanks?" Question mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love how like when he's talking with Zoltan, and he's like, "This isn't gonna work," and then Frankenstein's like, "I'm telling you, he's got a good brain and excellent eyes. I won't tell you where I got them, but I can assure you they're excellent."
Yeah.
I do like those types of little quips in the dialogue that Peter Cushing gets to do.
Yeah.
He's so good at delivering those types of lines.
It's far and few between in this one, but that's That's a callback to some of his earlier awesome stuff that he did in the other two.
Yeah, well, we talked about those first two, how much we really enjoy how refreshing it is to see the Frankenstein depicted that way. And in this film, it's more the traditional look. And what I'm trying to get to is the fact the monster also has a very traditional, universal story look. Although it looks more kind of, I hate to say this, homemade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my thought on it. Like Boris Karloff's makeup, and they're trying to duplicate that, is freaking awesome.
Yes.
Here they were trying to do it. They had the permission to do it, but they didn't have the skill to pull it off.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's got a friggin' milk jug on his head, and it's paper mached over the milk jug. But
yeah, his skin
like
is
block. It looks like a big block.
Yeah, he's got a block for a forehead.
Yes.
And to me, when I was watching it, I was like, this looks almost like what I would imagine. This is what Mel Brooks was really parodying.
Yeah.
This image right here, this version of the monster, this is version 1.0.
He does remind me of Peter Boyle too, the way that he looks.
Yes, absolutely. I'm telling you, this is probably what Mel Brooks said. Okay, let's make the head a little smoother. Let's put a zipper on his neck. Bam, done.
Yeah. This Frankenstein's played by a wrestler called Kiwi Kingston. He did Kiwi, that's his name. He didn't do anything else after this. I think he did a couple things before it, but I mean, he's a pretty good monster. Other than his makeup's a little off, but I think he does pretty good as the monster.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to do very much because the makeup is so thick. Yeah. He can't really emote very much. You barely see his eyes. Yeah. They're like two tiny pricks of light most of the time.
But when it shows a close up of the eye, it looks really bad because it's like some kind of there's like a black little piece of fabric there trying to cover it up, and it looks yeah.
I can suspend my disbelief. I can suspend my disbelief on it a little bit by simply saying, "Oh, well, then this is just his mummified, necrotic skin." Because this guy's been in ice for 10 years. You honestly think that Frankenstein could possibly fix that? I mean, in one night? Come on, he can't.
But he looks like that before he goes in ice.
Details.
When we see the flashback, he looks the exact same, dude.
Just squint your eyes.
Yeah.
Squint your eyes.
I was liking you trying to make the movie better, but unfortunately, it's not. It doesn't kill the movie. I mean, the makeup isn't. It could have been better, but it doesn't kill the movie.
No, it doesn't. And mark my words, Frankenstein fans out there. Mark our words here. I think you and I, gentle listener, you and I, we both know there are Frankensteins out there that are much worse than this. There are Frankenstein makeups out there that are so much worse.
And the Frankenstein's on screen a lot in this one too. He's on screen probably more than most of the other ones.
Yeah, and Frankenstein's a bit more nice.
When I say Frankenstein, I meant Frankenstein's monster.
The creature. Yeah.
Jeez, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
At least I didn't call him Dracula, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the only one not miscalling these characters. Jesus. The thing for me, when I'm watching the movie, I really do like the way that these characters are all interacting with one another, because the beggar girl / mute deaf girl, we
Renee.
see a lot.
Renee.
Yeah.
That's her name.
So, Renee.
Say her name.
We see a lot of her once she helps them find shelter that night when they're on the mountain. And this is after Frankenstein tries to go to the Burgermeister to get his stuff back, and he has escaped through the window, which we discussed, by using the bed sheets, which I thought was hilarious as shit.
Yeah, it is funny.
Hans, I like the Hans character, but the Hans character is like so one note until he has that discussion with Frankenstein about why he stays with Frankenstein.
I was actually about to mention that. I've got the dialogue written down.
Oh, good, go.
Please.
I thought it was such a great moment because they're sitting there. This is after all that, after the Burgermeister, and then they go and they hide in the mountains. He's just sitting there the next morning, and he asks Hans why he stays with him, and Hans says, "To tell you the truth, I often wonder that myself." And then the Baron says, You get nothing but misery with me. Now, this is another part where you see more humanity from the Baron. And Hans says, no, there's something else, knowledge. And Baron's like, you get that at the university. And Hans says, not the knowledge that you have. I think you have discovered all what others are looking or searching for. I think you have discovered the secret to life.
Mm-hmm. I think that's such a great little conversation between the two characters, and then that makes us realize why Hans stays there throughout the entire film. Because I think a lot of people would wonder, why is he still there?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it on the one hand. I mean, this guy can bring back dead tissue, even though he never really succeeds in creating a man. He still could very easily, and by all rights should have, just rested on his laurels by reanimating dead tissue of some kind. I mean, like in real scientific work, even if you fail to, like, discoveries have been made when trying to do something else. You know, like people have stumbled upon things while trying to find a cure for this or whatever. You know, I think that may have been like how they invented aspirin or something. They were trying to find like some kind of cure for something else, and they're using this plant. Well, hey, it cures this. You know, that's why people are taking Ozempic for weight loss. It was meant to be a diabetic medication, but then non-diabetic people started using it, which may not be a good example of that. But you get what I'm meaning. But like he could have easily just said, "Hey, look, I can't really make a full human, but you can, yeah. Look, it's a thing that's moving. It was dead before, now it's moving.
Yeah.
This is the 1800s. I have made the single greatest scientific discovery of all time. Laud me, give me money." I mean, he could easily have done that, but it just isn't enough for Baron von Frankenstein. Yeah. He's got to do his thing. He's got to make a man, damn it. And he never can quite get it.
The assistants here in each of the films Hans is unique. Of course, Frankenstein's a lot different. He is unique because he is not a sociopath, for one thing.
He's not a psychopath, and he's not a hunchback either.
And unlike the guy, well, I think the thing is, he might be similar to the one in the first one, had Frankenstein not become a sociopath, because the guy in the first one, once he became more violent and the experiments got more like he started stealing bodies and killing people, then he got out. Where this Frankenstein doesn't do that, and he actually goes and gets dead bodies, and so this Hans is a more likable assistant, but it is interesting that he stays with him, and it's nice that they give him that scene to kind of flesh him out.
Yeah.
Because they easily could have cut that out because for time or whatever, which I'm sure they a lot of times have scenes like that they just cut out. They're like, oh, we don't need that character development.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, it almost makes me think of, like, you know, going back to how they soften Frankenstein in this. You have this movie where eventually, to move things along a bit, the Zorga, what's his freaking name again?
Zoltan.
I was about to call Zoltan. I was about to call him Zorba the Great all of a sudden. But anyway,
so I did write something about Zoltan. Like the sign is hilarious. That his advertisement sign, but yeah.
So he's not just a bastard who wants to rape the redhead. He's not just an alcoholic who wants to drink all Frankenstein's very old gin.
And brandy, actually.
Brandy. Alcoholics out there are hating me right now because I don't know I don't drink and I don't know the difference.
Well, you realize anyway, the Hammer movies, it's always brandy. And there's one other thing they drink. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's never like. Sometimes, I mean, obviously they got beer steins in this film earlier on, but it's a very elegant drink. That's actually, they mentioned that and champagne. That's what they like, the elegant drinks.
And schnapps at one point. Yeah. Somebody drinks schnapps, right? Yeah.
What he mentions, like, even with the brandy, he mentions, sorry, I just have brandy. The champagne would be more appropriate, but this is all we got. Of course, Zoltan's cool, whatever. He don't care if it's Mad Dog 2020. He's going to drink it.
Oh, yeah. But Zoltan, like, he's got all that, and apparently he has a grudge. He's got a grudge against the Burgomeister. So he decides to use his hypnotism to basically turn the Frankenstein monster into his own personal murder machine to go out there and terminate the Burgomeister and anybody else who he may have a grudge against. And I feel like what Zoltan, Mr. Z bastard. Anyway, he's almost fulfilling the same function that I think the hunchbacked assistant in Hammer's version of Phantom of the Opera is performing, where he's performing the murders using the monster as a weapon, which is the same thing that an earlier Frankenstein.
It's a mummy thing too. It's not like a mummy, but
it's like it gives a chance for Frank. My point is, it's giving Frankenstein the chance to become the tragic hero.
Yes.
Because this other guy is doing the murders, not Frankenstein.
There's a real villain.
Frankenstein had a more reason to have a grudge against the people in town. But Zoltan's, what happened to him, I guess he has a ego situation too. But like, they come and shut his thing down and tell him to leave, and they actually arrest him. But then they let him go. He probably had to pay a fine or something. But I guess he's mad about that. And once he gets drunk, the first thing he does before he tells him to go attack the Burgermeister, he tells him to go steal a bunch of gold from town.
Yes, I wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
It feels like gold from the town. He's not very specific. He just tells him to go out there and steal gold from the town.
So he
comes back. We see him in the streets with the gold stuff in his arm. He just stomping out the streets. When the one drunk sees him, the drunkard sees him coming out of the bar, he sees him like, okay, that's an interesting scene to be seeing. Giant 12-foot monster walking down the street, gold in his hands.
Yeah, he has some kind of cross and some other candlestick or something, but he got some pretty good shit though. I mean, it looks like it was pretty expensive.
Yeah, and we see close of that later in the castle. Frankenstein's castle. When
what's funny and Frankenstein actually calls it at one point. He calls it a chateau. It's funny that I think a castle sounds a lot better. I was doing some research on that, and apparently a castle is like a for I guess to block people like in a war sort of situation.
Yeah,
and where a chateau is more of a luxury type of place. But calling it a castle sounds a lot better. But Frankenstein does refer to it as a chateau.
Yeah, it's a chateau. It's a chateau.
Yeah.
I mean, castle sounds more gothic.
Yeah. I like it. It sounds better, even if it's not right, if it's not accurate.
I'd like to know what the difference is. I mean, really, I know you said it's more of a luxury place.
No,
but I'm sure.
Here's what AI said on it.
Yeah, castle.
Oh, of course, an AI is always right.
Yeah, they're always right. But I looked it up on some other stuff too. It says even if you look up the definition of a castle, it's like castle is a fortified stronghold built primarily for defense, featuring thick walls and towers, while chateau typically refers to a grand French country house, manor, or palace, emphasizing luxury and residence over military function.
Yeah, castles for a function. Castles had a actual function, which is to defend their. There wasn't townspeople; it was their area of people. So people lived within the castle, and the knights all stayed within the castle. It had a particular purpose, whereas the chateau doesn't. It's not defending nobody. It's where you live, baby.
Yeah, it's a luxury palace. Again, castle. I prefer to call it castle, but I think the accurate word is chateau for it.
Yeah. Well, I like to call it castle too, but I know the difference between the two. But I like calling it castle too.
Yeah,
castle is just like. Rolls off the tongue, but castle, not chateau.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. It's still French.
Yeah, it is very French.
Chateau. Castle. I want to do castle. Yeah. Now we've gotten off.
He goes back with that gold stuff. And But he comes back with a gold. But when Zoltan sees what happens with each time, he's so drunk that he's not meaning to do it, I don't think. But he's kind of he's got like an ego issue, but when he comes back, especially after he killed people, he's like, "I didn't mean for you to kill him." Like he's surprised he's got blood on him.
He did say punish them.
Yeah,
he just wasn't specific as to what he meant by punishment.
It's like, what's that going to do for you? Go punish them? I mean, you might as well kill them at that point. You're going to have the same problem.
It might have been hilarious if the monster had taken him super literally and has like a child's brain and just like bent the Burgomeister over his monster knee and just started spanking him.
Yeah. He does slam him into the wall.
Oh,
he picks him up and slams him into the wall. What the wife's in there like screaming. It's funny. It's the Burgermeister too. Burgo Master. He's in there. He's got some friggin' hilarious looking sleeping cap on. Yes. It's like a blue sleeping cap like they had in those older movies.
Well, it's
like so goofy.
Like Scrooge. Scrooge Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
I saw it. I noticed it too. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
That just makes his character. His character is funny the whole film. That it's not like he's a comic character. It's just how he looks and what he does is funny to us as the audience because he's taken greed and luxury to define who and what he is. You know.
Yeah. When the Baron goes into his room, the Baron when he goes into his room, he notices he's stolen his bed and all his furniture too. So.
That's hilarious. He just starts picking up. You stole that? That's mine too.
Yeah. And then the girl's on the bed, you know.
I'm guessing after Frankenstein got kicked out in the Phantom first movie in this alternate reality series, that or as the kids might say nowadays, this AU, this alternate reality or alternate universe. I'm sure they had some kind of auction. I can imagine where they just like put all Frankenstein stuff in a big pile, like, okay, all right, bid for his bedspread, 25, 35, 45, 45.
It was all confiscated, and just like in this day and age with police, when they used to confiscate anything and everything from the people that they arrested, whether it was legal or not, most of those people never got their stuff back, even if they were unlawfully detained. Nowadays it's very hard for police to do. People have taken them to court enough to sue their asses. So cops just can't confiscate anything and everything. But that's how I wonder back there.
It makes me wonder though, like what happens to like a criminal on death row and like he's got all this stuff and like he has no relatives to bequeath it to. Yeah. What do they do with it after he's executed?
Well, before that, it was depending on where he's living. Say if he's living in an apartment, then they would have to pretty much trash everything and get rid of it because they would have to. If he's not paying the apartment rent, then they would have to sell that to or the house. The bank would get it and they'd have to sell it to somebody else. They would just do an estate sale.
And then of course, if you have time before you actually go to prison, you're supposed to settle your affairs before you go to prison. That would mean either having someone look after your stuff or putting it in a storage and arranging for that stuff to get paid for as you're in prison, so on and so forth. But if you're like murderer and you get taken into jail and you don't get a chance to do all that shit, you don't pay your rent, your whole estate's going to be taken over by the person whose house that shit's in for back payment.
They may do an estate sale and you may get the money from it to help pay for your lawyer fees, even though if you're on death row, I guess your lawyer probably may not have been that good. But
I mean, if that's the case, so there's got to be people who like go to these estate sales and try specifically to get certain criminals and stuff. Because
maybe
because I know there's this whole cottage industry of like people who like buy artwork from famous killers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like there's somebody out there who paid good money to have a painting by Jeffrey Dahmer in their apartment.
They don't have famous killers like they used to. It's not like Dahmer and Ed Gein and stuff. It hasn't been one of them in a long time.
The BTK was fairly recent.
We have serial
I don't know.
killers.
People want his shit though.
We still have serial killers, but there is nothing in comparison to what there was back in the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s because that was new then. And at least this is my opinion, which is why we don't hear about it as much. That was new back then, and now it's not. I did research for a screenplay that I was working on, and I came across maybe thousands of them. I had to pick and choose which ones I mentioned in my screenplay, but I'd never heard of any of these.
Pretty scary that there's that many out there, and people just don't give a shit anymore. They used to be celebrities. They used to be contenders, and now like nobody knows their names.
Well, think about it. This may shock you. But a lot of the female serial killers out there are actually the ones who masquerade as nurses and caregivers for older people, initiating euthanasia on people without their permission. There are a lot of those out there, surprisingly. And I was doing research. I was like, what the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of mad killer doctors, the guy who holds the record, it's terrible we're talking about this, but the guy who holds the record for the most prolific serial killer the world has ever known is a doctor in Britain who like killed, I don't know, like 110 people by euthanasia in England, just by, putting a little needle in. He was just killed all these old people, and he got away with it for like 11 years before they caught him.
Crazy,
yeah.
dude.
Well, that's like in order to get away with it, that's like why they have to do something more subtle like that, where these other people were like doing really crazy shit, like the Zodiac killer who never got caught, but he was doing really crazy, like out there stuff, and even like that, but he stopped after a while so.
We think he
stopped. We think he stopped, but really he probably...
He became a Dexter. He moved to another fucking state, decided to kill again. Yeah. And we just haven't caught up with him.
Well, Zodiac was special because unlike other serial killers, Zodiac had a costume. He had a costume and a mask. He's one of the few guys out there, aside from like the Phantom in Texarkana, who's reported to actually wear a mask like a slasher. He actually had a gimmick. He's like a real life supervillain. You don't see that very often.
I think it's better, like if there are serial killers like you're saying out there still doing shit, it's better that they don't make them celebrities, because that just encourages more serial killers to do copycat stuff.
Well, I also believe that in this day and age now, police and cops and authorities don't want to acknowledge when there actually is one either. Because that's just bad. But hey, we're in Forest Park, Georgia, man. This motherfucker's killed 20 people and nobody knows it.
Yeah.
What? Serial killer? No, we can't say serial killer. That's a bad word. We just say there's been 20 murders, but don't link them up. Don't link them. They're not serial killer. They're just random killings.
Yeah. It's going to put the property value down. Yeah. Once you hear serial killer, you can just forget it.
Yeah, forget it, dude. Forget it. Oh, Jesus. And getting back to Frankenstein.
Who doesn't kill anybody in this movie.
Well, until he kills the Burgomaster, right?
No. The Burgomaster didn't. No, he doesn't. The hypnotist kills the Burgomaster through the monster.
Yeah. Frankenstein.
I guess technically, I don't know if that's going to hold up in court, though.
Well, I mean, Watkins, you're right. In court, because Frankenstein created, or in this case, revived this monster, and it was technically under his care. When Zoltan, whatever the heck his name is, goes out and uses him like a remote control murder machine, technically speaking, yes, he would be liable for that. And I think you would consider that, even under British law, I think that would be called like second-degree manslaughter.
Right. I think all these guys are technically going to jail at this point. Hans is an accomplice too.
Oh yeah.
And maybe even the beggar girl, she would probably get out of it. Because she's seems like she's like
hear or speak.
And she seems like she's not quite all right. Like she's got some kind of like a mental disorder.
There is an opportunity for dramatic tension here that they never quite do, because like even though she can't hear, she does know what's going on with Dr. Zoltan, whatever heck, and yet they don't really milk that dramatic tension of, is she going to tell Frankenstein? How is she going to tell Frankenstein? Because she can't communicate. She doesn't know sign language. How is she going to tell him? But then that never really pays off.
Yeah, no, but it does follow her for quite some time. In that last 30 minutes, it does kind of show her walk from one room to the castle to the other, seeing all the crazy stuff going on, and she does kind of develop like a friendship with the monster. She seems like she's really like his caretaker suddenly, which really plays into his ultimate demise at the end of the film.
Yeah, it's sad because she is literally the only one in the entire cast that she has anything in common with.
Yeah. So there is that, but that's I mean, it's kind of cool seeing that. But that would have been funny though, her trying to tell Frankenstein, and someone like that, as old as she is, they would have developed some form of sign language or using hand gestures, or drawing a picture of Zoltan on the wall.
That would have been hilarious, though.
She's a beggar woman.
I don't want to sound terrible, but it would have been funny because I know they wouldn't have. There's no, because thinking about how they would have done this back then, it would have been like a thing where she would like take some chalk or something and draw a weird stick figure. Yeah, on the chalkboard and draw some like weird stick figure.
Woman. She ain't got no money for no miniature chalkboard and chalk. So no one cares about her. They think she's a thief.
She would have just drawn it on the wall, on the big brick wall. I mean, like Zoltan, maybe Z, and he'll have like squiggly lines coming from his eyes or something to represent hypnotism, and then she'll draw the monster, which would be hilarious.
She does go to Frankenstein in that one scene to kind of inform her that something's going wrong with the monster and Zoltan. And I think that's the only time where she warns him like that. In the entire film, and that's when Peter Cushing's Frankenstein goes in there and he realizes what's going on with Zoltan, that the monster has been used.
Yeah, yeah. Like Zoltan grabs those gold. He's trying to. He realizes that something that we didn't mention before is that it's funny that they panic, like Frankenstein and Hans panic, and they go and hide in the mountains because they know everybody's going to go back to the castle. But once they find the monster, they bring it back to the castle and redo the lab. They're not afraid that they're going to come check the castle anymore. Even later on, it's like they're never afraid that they're going to come check the castle out. But I don't know.
I think the first time, the first time that the constable kind of confronts Frankenstein at the Burgomeister's house, and Frankenstein escapes. At that point, Frankenstein takes Hans to the mountain, and they don't want to go back to the chateau because that's the first place the constable's going to check. But it's been a day or two or longer that they get stuck up in the mountains because of the weather and melting the ice.
Right. I mean, obviously we need to go back there to the chateau or the castle, but it's kind of hilarious that the cops they just let it go. They're like, okay, he's not coming back here.
Well, yeah. I don't think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask, like, when they're back up there in the mountains, is this where? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this where we get finally that iconic image of the girl being carried by the monster pose?
Yeah. Well, that's after what happens with Zoltan, but that's a cool shot.
Yes,
and
it is.
Hans and the monster, and that's almost like that whole scene reminds me of something out of, like, say, the Penny Dreadful. There's a good team up of some people, but that quickly falls apart in the next sequence after that, unfortunately. But before that happens, though, in Zoltan's demise, Zoltan like really loses his shit. Like he gets kicked out of the chateau. Frankenstein's like kicks him out. Zoltan's kind of like, at first he's like really concerned about getting arrested, but then he gets pissed because Frankenstein kicks him out of the castle. And then he comes back around to this grate and he's like yelling for the Frankenstein or the monster to get him out. And the monster breaks the grate, which gives the monster a weapon. It's like a pointed stake thing that was in the grate. And then Zoltan demands the creature to go kill Frankenstein.
And he can't do it. He rebels against Zoltan. He just can't bring himself.
But it's not quite that, though. Because there's something we forgot to mention earlier. It was in the flashback, was the fire. Like Frankenstein, like in Young Frankenstein, he is afraid of fire.
Yes, this is the only time where they do that in this movie. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they do. There is a fire thing. Oh yeah, no, because in Curse of Frankenstein, he does use the fire against his monster in that movie, but it does nothing.
Yeah,
it does not faze the monster one bit.
It's from the Universal monster movies, and they probably didn't want to do it in the other one because it was a callback to the Universal, and they felt like they might get called out for it.
Yeah,
but here he is afraid of fire. He got burned earlier, and Frankenstein has like a torch thing or like a lantern in his hand with fire, and that's what makes the creature finally become unhypnotized and make up his own decision.
And he stabs Zoltan in the heart with a metal spear, like Dracula.
Yeah, it is a Dracula thing. Yeah,
it is. I never saw that. I never thought of that. It's definitely.
And it is hands down the most violent scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, it had every right to be, because that Zoltan is the villain, and he pretty much was the human villain. Yeah,
let's face it, he deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of being ridiculous. He tried to kill Frankenstein with the monster. He killed like 2 other guys, so yeah. He was dangerous. He needed to be taken out of commission. He was a liability.
He's someone who's a showman who found a way to make money and get back on revenge on people that just look down on him. is how I saw it. Just like Frankenstein. Frankenstein came from money, and the entire town looked down on him. Everyone looked down on his ideals, and he has to prove himself. I kind of saw the same thing with the Zoltan character. You need to prove himself. I mean, I don't think he could have left that town without getting his vengeance or his comeuppance on the Burgomaster and the constable, and now Frankenstein.
Well, I think
what? I'm sorry, Dave. I was going to say, Kevin, I think you hit your nail on the head. This movie should have been called Revenge of Frankenstein, not the second movie,
Evil of Frankenstein. But I'm thinking though that if Zoltan hadn't have gotten drunk on the brandy, his id wouldn't have come forward like it does, because he stays drunk. Before that, he actually is cooperating, getting all his stuff together, leaving town. He's actually worried that he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't do it quick enough. And it's not until he gets tanked on the brandy that his id kicks in and he becomes a monster, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Daggum drink, man. Don't get drunk, guys. Don't do it.
Be like Frankenstein when he sips on the brandy elegantly.
Yes, indeed. But I love the climax of this movie, where after we've done away with Zoltan, but of course the monster is just rampaging through the lab, not because he's gone full monster, but because his poor brain hurts so bad that he's trying to literally tear his own cubist skull off of his face. Mm-hmm. And he's just knocking things down, and there's fire everywhere. But and the deaf girl shows him alcohol, and that just makes it worse.
Yeah.
And the creature's destroying everything. And even when it seems like he is engulfed in flames, Peter Cushing does this amazing Tarzan swing from chains across the lab, all to try to save his monster. And that seems to be how he dies, because the lab just blows up.
Yeah.
It literally blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's kind of and it's kind of heartwarming, because I think this is one of the only times where in this series we see Frankenstein actually try to save his creation instead of trying to kill it.
Right.
And again, it's because he can't let the past go.
Well, he tries to save the monster in the flashback too, and he gets
in this movie.
Is that crazy? This is the movie where he doesn't reject his monster. In fact, he tries to save it.
Well, I mean, even in Curse, though, he did try to save the monster. Remember, after he was shot in the head by his partner, right. He brings it back and tries to rehabilitate him.
That's a little different, though. He let them shoot his monster just so he can let them think he was dead. That's different, though.
Well, I do.
And then remember, what does he do? What does he do? He chains the poor thing up to a wall.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't chain him in this one. He doesn't chain him, and that's why he gets away earlier on. But
so you're saying he should have chained him in this movie?
I don't know. I mean, he probably shouldn't have brought him to life to begin with.
Can't tell Frankenstein that.
That probably would have been the better way to go. But or like you said, take his research to academia and let other people do that in the open, so there's not any question about what's going on. And
stick with reanimating dead dogs, because everyone loves it when dogs come back from the dead.
Yeah, it could bring back animals. But one thing I was going to mention, though, which I think is hilarious about the sequence, when the beggar girl gives him the friggin' brandy, he takes a sip of it and then smashes the bottle on the ground. But then he realizes, wait a minute, that was pretty good. And he gets on the ground and starts licking it up. And then he goes to the crates and starts chugging it. He grabs bottles of it, and then he is tanked. He's even more drunk than Zoltan was in the whole film. And then he goes up on those balusters on the stairs, and he breaks the stair railing, and because he's so drunk he trips over it and he falls down. And that's when the Dr. Frankenstein has that rope thing that he swings down.
I wonder if that trip was not intentional, because he can't see hardly in that makeup. I wonder if that was just an accident.
I don't know, man. That would be a hard fall if that wasn't on purpose, because he breaks those balusters and it falls really far. But
he's a wrestler.
He's a wrestler.
He was a wrestler. He's just knocking people over the head with chairs.
Yeah. But that's but it does feel two things. I guess a question of two things of that, which one is always in these Hammer films in the last like 10 minutes, it seems like they're like, we got to wrap this thing up. We got to kill this monster. We got to kill Frankenstein, or what do we? It just seems like seems like it's rushed when it gets to that point. Like, and it's hilarious that they decided to do the alcohol with it, but it's like, what are they trying to say with the alcohol? It is funny that they really use that as a plot device in this one, where they usually don't. They'll have it in there like they're chilling and drinking it. But this one, they actually use it as a plot device several times.
I think maybe it's back to like, well, I mean, if there's a second theme in this movie aside from it's bad to linger on the past, because that's what Frankenstein does. The second theme would probably be drugs are bad, because I mean the closest thing you have to narcotics aside from opium in this day and age, in the era of this movie, is as alcohol. So I guess that's another theme. This is an anti-substance movie in a sense, because alcohol causes the tragedy in this movie in one way or another.
Because I think without it, like Zoltan wouldn't have gotten like he did, or the monster, and both of them caused the problems.
That we see earlier, who first sees the monster roaming the streets.
Yeah.
The scene where when Frankenstein and Hans show up, and they go to a bar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they're drinking wine in that one.
But they're being more conservative with the way they drink their drink.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder, because this movie was directed by Freddie Francis, but it was written by, what's his name? John L.
Who?
These movies. Who's
Michael Carreras?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a pseudonym for Michael Carreras, because I remember on the special features of Anthony Hines. Anthony Hines, who is the producer of many, if not all, of these Hammer movies, including the original Curse of Frankenstein and the Phantom of the Opera for Hammer. So John Elder was his pseudonym whenever he wrote script to anything he produced. And wow, he hung in there. He died in September 30th, 2013, at the age of 91. And what I'm thinking, yeah, he hung in there. But what I'm thinking is, I wonder if he had an alcoholic father, and this was his revenge on that guy.
Maybe. I think it's hilarious. It just, especially when the freaking monster starts chugging it after he decides it tastes good.
So did I.
Yeah, but I guess a couple scenes we skipped. They're not really that important, but it's kind of funny that it happens. Like the police. There's a lot of, and then they bring it back to the police station, and he's able to escape the police station by chloroforming the guard, and then this is all these guys are forming a mob, and then he steals a carriage, and it's some of the worst green screen from any of these movies.
Gosh, yes,
he gets on that carriage.
I did that in my notes. I wrote worst process shot ever in the history of man and God. I love it.
Yeah. It is quite hilarious. And you have Peter Cushing on this horse with this really bad green screen, and he runs through this mob of guys who are on the way to the castle, who get there just in time to see the whole castle burn down at the end. And
explode.
Yeah.
Explode, yeah. And meanwhile, Han looks back as the villagers gather, and he says, well, they finally beat him. They beat him after all. To which I reply, did they though? Because he's back in the next movie. Because all the time, I forgot to mention that he keeps saying they won't beat me yet. I will show them. I will. Again, you were saying he's got to prove himself, and he says,
he says they will. They always destroy everything, I think is what his repeated thing is. But Han's saying that, I guess a very kind of, and the castle's burning down, and I don't know. You don't know for a fact that he died. He's in there, but it doesn't look like he's going to get out of there. And apparently Peter Cushing was actually, when they're doing that, one of those shots, the flames was pretty close to him, and it kind of gave him some burns.
Oh, wow.
I was listening to some kind of behind the scenes thing on that, but it's It's actually those shots when he's in that fire look crazy.
Oh yeah, I imagine it was a little unsafe.
Yeah, it was unsafe. He got burned a little bit, I think. He ended up, but it was his decision to jump down in there, and then they were like, "Okay, keep rolling," and then he's like, "Okay, I got to get out of here. This is hot."
This isn't quite worth it.
It's not like now, now it's real fire,
It'd be all CGI.
Yeah, yeah.
I do hate CGI fire.
I know it sucks. But it's safer. I mean, this is dangerous. They really love fire in these Hammer movies. They really love that shit.
I mean, it's real fire, so it always looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to make fire look cinematic. There's a reason why they kept using it back then. I mean, granted, it's sorry, my cat's trying to eat me right now.
Yeah. The serial killer cat, right?
Oh yeah, he's a cannibal cat. Yes. But it's like I don't think. I mean, they beat him only for now.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's the Evil of Frankenstein, which is funny because again, I always have issues with the titles of some of these Hammers because the Evil of Frankenstein. It's not really anything really evil that he does. He's the nicest guy in this thing. It's the Evil of Zoltan. And
I think maybe the Revenge of Frankenstein could have used the Evil of Frankenstein.
Yeah, they should have switched.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't. They never fit. None of them. I don't think fit. It's kind of comical that they don't.
No, they don't. Curse of Frankenstein is the worst because there is no Curse of Frankenstein in Curse of Frankenstein.
And the horror of Frankenstein did work for the horror of Frankenstein, which is a remake of Curse of Frankenstein. That title does work, I think. Because if the Curse of Frankenstein was called the Horror of Frankenstein, kind of like the first Dracula is called the Horror of Dracula,
right?
That works.
Well, in America,
right?
In Britain, it was just Dracula.
Yeah.
But I hope that. But for Frankenstein Created Woman, the next one we're hopefully going to talk about. That's a good title.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. That is.
Did he really create woman? Or
he died. No, he doesn't. It doesn't even play into it until the last act of the film either. I don't think.
I've forgotten that one, so I have to. I'm looking forward to rewatching that one because I don't remember that one at all. So
it's good.
I'm looking forward to it too because apparently it's Martin Scorsese's favorite Hammer movie.
Speaking of Martin Scorsese, Freddie Francis was a cinematographer on Cape Fear that he directed. Yes. But nice. Freddie Francis, I was actually looking up his information. He did a lot of stuff, even after this. He did a lot of the Amicus films, several of the most famous ones, like Tales from the Crypt, Dr. Terror's House of Horror, and Torture Garden.
But that'll be for our next spin-off podcast, Conversations in Amicus Horror.
Amicus. I don't know if there's enough Amicus to do it.
I don't know if there's enough.
Yeah.
The Amicus titles are already on our regular podcast list. We just haven't gotten to them yet. So.
But Freddie Francis also was a cinematographer on 3 David Lynch films, including Dune, The Elephant Man, and The Straight Story.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes, I do remember him. Oh, yeah.
And also the Civil War film Glory with Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington.
That's right. I remember that because, in the commentary, they were talking about this in Glory when they're having that party, and that's the time when Matthew Broderick finds out that he's gotten the command. That plantation house, they shot. A long history of making horror movies. Of course, they would mention any of them, but so Freddie would just tell them all the stories about the ghosts in this allegedly haunted house they were shooting in, and they were enthralled by his stories, and he was such a great storyteller.
That's cool though. One other little trivia thing about these. There's 7 Frankenstein films, and Terrence Fisher directed all of them but 2. This was one of them, and The Horror of Frankenstein was the other one.
Wow.
Yeah. Unlike the Dracula films, he only directed the first 3, but
we're not talking about those.
Yeah. We're not. But he really latched onto this Frankenstein. He even came back for the last Frankenstein. He skipped The Horror of Frankenstein, which didn't even have Cushing in it, which is a reboot.
I mean, most people would skip that one anyway.
Yeah. So yeah. I watched it recently. I thought it was pretty good. It's weird the way they almost duplicate duplicate the plot, but anytime they do something different, it's really interesting what they do different.
Hmm.
But it was better than I thought it was. I did get it they have a new 4K release of it, but it looks really good in 4K.
Well, hopefully in the 4K release of this movie, they'll fix that process shot somehow, make it look slightly better.
Maybe I would like to see a 4K release of this. I'd be very interested to see what they would do with that. It's going to look a little better. It might not fix it, but it's going to look a little better, I would think.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this one. In fact, I kind of like it better than Revenge of Frankenstein, but not as much as Curse. Curse is still the hanging flagship of this franchise. But don't get me wrong, this is a nice reboot, and I don't know if because like you, I have zero recollection of Frankenstein Created a Woman, so I don't know if that next one is a continuation of this version, the not bastard version of Frankenstein, or if they just go back to the original. I don't know.
They definitely go back again to the original asshole one, or the original sociopath in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
So I don't know what happened, what they do with it in the next one exactly. I think they kind of continue it from this one, if I'm not mistaken, but it's been a while too.
So basically, we have 2 Frankenstein timelines
right now.
Yeah. No, 3 if you count Horror Frankenstein.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this is almost like the Halloween franchise now. Holy crap! I just realized that. Oh,
but it's not as many though, because with that Horror Frankenstein, didn't. They didn't. It fizzled, I guess, and then they didn't continue that one. It was just a standalone.
Right, like Season of the Witch.
Yeah. Well, but Season of the Witch went in a completely different direction. It would be like a Friday the 13th Part 5 when they all of a sudden had like a different Jason, but still in the same sort of timeline, I guess. But that timeline's not right.
Yeah. No, you're right. They don't really ever reboot. Except for the Jason movies. Like when you get Jason Goes to Hell, it's not really the same Jason. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And then, so then pretty much everything after that is just that Jason, pretty much, kind of, sort of. And then you really get kind of the reboot, the remake, and that's pretty much it.
Those are the New Line Jason. Once New Line had the rights to it, they didn't care about any kind of established continuity, and they didn't have rights to some of the characters either, other than Jason.
And Jason's mom, who's got it going on.
Yeah, they could only use Jason. They couldn't use Tommy Jarvis, which they wanted to, but they couldn't.
But didn't they kill Tommy Jarvis in freaking?
No, he's still alive. They had the character in the remake that Sam Winchester, like Jared Padalecki, who played Sam Winchester in Supernatural, plays, is very similar to Tommy Jarvis. He's actually that was originally written as Tommy Jarvis, but they couldn't use the character.
Interesting. Well, they probably can now because of all the rights issues that took forever to unravel, and them finally fucking agreeing on that shit.
Yeah. I guess if they choose to or not, but it's bad they had those rights issues with that one. But it's a bizarre franchise anyway.
No, it's not. It's a nameless. I mean, it's a talkless serial killer who just kills people at a summer camp. How can that be any more bizarre than that? It's pretty fucking.
But just like when they get into like the Carrie character that has like the telekinesis powers and then fights him, which is a cool idea, and they bring him back as a zombie in the 6th one, and I like all that, but it's. And then, like he was talking about, they rip off the Hidden and Jason Goes to Hell. They basically remake the Hidden instead of making a Friday the 13th movie.
It doesn't. Well, no. I guess.
Then they put him in space.
Yeah, but that would have David Cronenberg at the beginning, so I forgive them for that.
Yeah, I liked the space one. I thought it was goofy as hell, but
it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder how cool it would have been if this franchise had gone to space.
Yeah, they needed it. No, they definitely.
Can you imagine? When Frankenstein
he did do it. It's called Dracula 3000, I believe.
No. I'm talking about Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
never
damn.
done-
Now you
they-
got me talking about Dracula. I would kick you your ass, boy. I don't know if there's.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's.
Then Frankenstein goes to space.
Yeah.
The closest thing is Frankenstein Unbound.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing is Frankenstein Unbound, where they have a time traveler coming back in time, and he's got a future car with him, and then they take the monster spoilers for that movie, which is amazing, and everyone should see Frankenstein Unbound because it's great. I recently caused a ruckus on Twitter because somebody posted a clip of it, and I said, you know what, more people should be aware that this movie exists, and I got a bunch of people going, yes, this, and all that. I don't know how many of those were bots, and they're not real people, but.
Well, they're probably not bots if they're saying yes to something. You can tell when it's a bot.
Yeah,
they're very provocative. They have an agenda when it's a bot.
Yeah, I get you. You're right. But like, I might imagine how cool it would have been if because Hammer had done a lot of science fiction up until this point. They had the props. They had the technology on Mars.
I don't think the world was ready for it at the time.
No.
They probably would have thought it was really stupid.
World is still.
It couldn't possibly have been more stupid than the stuff they did do.
Yeah, the world's still not ready for that. We all know that from having watched I, Frankenstein. They're not ready for it yet.
Oh, I haven't seen I, Frankenstein, Kevin. Did he go to freaking outer space? Did Aaron Eckhart jump on the International Space Station and kill vampires on it?
Yeah. I couldn't even watch that movie, man. I watched like 10 minutes of it, and I was like, I'm not feeling it.
Aaron Eckhart is fine in the role, but you have to keep in mind it's Frankenstein's monster versus fucking gargoyles.
That's kind of cool. I mean, I don't mind that. I just don't like. It's like one of those in your face, loud, like trying to catch your attention right away, and it's like build a story, build some characters, make us a little interested in this thing instead of like throwing action sequence after action sequence at us.
Yeah, it makes people numb. But you know what? It could have worked if only the gargoyles were awesome and had great dialogue and stuff like the gargoyles in the animated TV show Gargoyles. That would have been neat.
I like that. There's a movie called Gargoyles. Doesn't it have Peter Cushing in it?
No, I don't think so, because that movie was a TV movie that was set in Arizona.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
I just saw that for the first time a few weeks back. That's got no Peter Cushing in it, dude. That's a TV movie.
How are they in that shit?
Not good. It's for a 70. I think it's 70s.
Yeah,
it's 70s. So it feels very dated for 70s.
You know what? They should have made a movie called Gargoyles with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool, because then it could have been the gargoyles are coming to life and some Gothic cathedral, and Peter Cushing's got to get to the bottom of it, and Christopher Lee is like the Monsignor of the priest of the castle, of the cathedral, and he's trying to keep it under wraps because it's like a big cover up by the Vatican. Because it turns out the gargoyles can communicate with humans by speaking Latin, because that's the way that the gargoyles communicate with the church, because that's the only language that all the priests of the Catholic Church speak is Latin, and the gargoyles are actually like the hitmen.
I don't know if they should talk, the gargoyles.
You know what? Okay, so I'm going to pull it back to where we are, because we've gotten so far off of Frankenstein now. We're talking about gargoyles.
We're about to make an AI movie with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it about gargoyles.
Oh, no, we're not going to make an AI movie. This is going to be a thing with people.
But you can't bring them back, though, because they're dead. How are you going to have them in there?
Well, you can do an animated film, just like what they did with Stephen Harris and Bebe's Kids, where he had passed away, and they took his dialogue of his story and made it into an animated movie.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they did that after his death. Wow, I thought he was alive during that. Wow.
I thought so, too. But I was reading about that recently. I'm like, that's all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, he died at a really bad point. He was about to get bigger.
Out.
Yeah, that was really tragic.
Really big too.
I guess sometimes
And they still have yet to put that as a really good 4K. Or
I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
Baby's Kids.
Yeah, it's fucking. I love that anime movie, but I don't own it because I can't find the motherfucker. So,
wow,
Yeah.
dang.
it's streaming. It's streaming on Tubi or something, but that's about the only way you can find it,
Right.
or VHS.
I saw it when it first came out. I don't remember it very well, but he was in House Party, right? He's been the dad in House Party.
Yeah,
Yes, it's hilarious when he's like beating the shit out of him. So.
Yeah.
We don't die, we multiply.
So now I've gotten that into one of our podcasts.
You try to get us back on track, Kevin. You ended up taking us even way further out.
Yeah, I think it was. I started with the gargle thing. I shouldn't have done that. But...
Yeah. So okay,
you have to cut all that out.
Any final thoughts about the movie we're discussing today, Evil of Frankenstein?
So I got nah, I'm good. Go ahead.
He changed his mind abruptly.
Yeah.
This movie is worth a watch, if for no other reason but to kind of set you up for this rebooted, kinder, gentler Frankenstein, who you get more of in the next movie, Frankenstein Created Woman. It's also if you like the old, more classic, Universal, and you want to see what a British Hammer version of that is, this is as good as you're going to get. This is pretty much it. It's not the best of them, and it's not the most Hammer of the ones, but it's good. I like it. Like I said, I like it better than Revenge, and I'm not even sure why I like it better than Revenge. Probably because I had such lower expectations for this one. And also, I realized that one of my complaints about Revenge was that Revenge, as clever as some of it was, and as good structurally as it was as a script, and with all these really neat little characters on the side and everything, which this movie does not have. This movie does not have interesting side characters, but it has funny side characters, but not interesting. This does at least have a lot. You see a lot of him. His makeup's not that great, but like I said, seem much worse. So it's good, and I'm glad I saw it. I don't know if I'd watch it over and over again, though. I would probably still watch Curse and maybe Revenge over and over again, but we'll see how the next one goes in our journey through the depths of scientific depravity.
No, yeah, I do want to add a couple of things to that, and I think that what's appealing about this one is the humor in it, because it's a little more broad humor than the other ones. The other ones have some dark humor in them, but this one some of it's very broad. The production values are really good too. When you see like the town of Karlstad, they're having a carnival, which we didn't talk about. But the production values behind that, they got carousels out there. They got a lot of people. They got what looks almost like a Wicker Man looking thing going on with these masks that these people are wearing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's from a whole other movie that's happening.
yeah. But there's some cool production values in here, and they clearly had a bigger budget than before, and they also got the rights to the Universal monster, which they were doing some interesting stuff in the first two because they weren't able to use it, but here they were able to embrace it, and it does, like you said, it does feel like a Hammer version of the Universal monster movies, but it does slightly updated. Not very many kills, not that much blood, really pulled back on a lot of that, but it's still, at the same time, it's one when you're watching it, you're not thinking about that necessarily because of the way that the script is, and just going through, you're seeing Frankenstein go through what he goes through, like coming in and seeing his place torn up and then having the flashback. So you kind of feel for him more, I think, in this one than the other two, just because he is a more sympathetic character. And
it does make me think of this question that we had when we were watching Curse of Frankenstein, which is that, they were forced to make a much more original story and a much more original looking monster because they didn't have those rights. And now that they make this movie with the rights, and this is what they create, and it's not quite as good. So,
right. Yeah.
and so it kind of makes me wonder, like, first of all, why did freaking Universal hold on to those for so daggum long? They just, they deprived a whole generation reboots of Frankenstein that could have been much more interesting. But anyway,
but it wasn't that long though, because this is 1964. Like the later of the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies were in the late 50s.
55.
Yeah. So I mean, it was somewhat, it was maybe like 10 years or something, but I don't think they were ready. They weren't. It was still, Frankenstein was still not that far away, the original one at that point, because Universal was still making movies.
Well, Creature of the Black Lagoon is a different beast, no pun intended. They, I mean, they haven't made Universal hadn't really made a Frankenstein movie until I think House of Frankenstein was the last one.
But and then the Abbott and Costello stuff after that.
Oh, that too, right, that too. But that was like early 50s and in black and white. And of course, part of Hammer's contribution, as we all know, is that they were the first ones to do these movies in color.
Yeah.
So they gave it glorious color. But I think what I'm trying to get at here is that I'm realizing is that, you have, and other franchises have this problem too, when you're adapting classic literature or you're adapting a classic version of that classic literature. It kind of makes you think that, especially with the Frankenstein story, and we're getting into perhaps the discussion of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein too, which is probably, we're on the eve almost of the, I think next week the Academy votes, and we'll see if history is made and if a Frankenstein movie gets nominated for Best Picture. We shall see that shortly, I think.
Do you have any indications that might happen, or it's just like wishful thinking when you're in?
No, I don't think it's wishful thinking, because I
think it will.
Let's just say that I have a family member who is in the Academy, and that's all I will say. I won't say what branch she's in, but I will say that that I've seen a lot of buzz passed along that a lot of people do like that movie, and if it doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, okay, I would not say, I would say it didn't have a chance in Hades, except for the fact that Del Toro did create a movie where a gill man has sex with a woman and got a Best Picture Oscar out of it. So I wouldn't discount Del Toro at all at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he can.
I would feel better about it. I would feel better about it if it had a theatrical release, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Same. Me too. Me too. It had a limited. Yeah, you're right. It had a limited. But I guess what I'm getting at is, like, you have really only two kinds of Frankenstein movies. You have ones that do something radically different, or they're trying to do some version of the Universal version, which to many people is the text of Frankenstein. I mean, Frankenstein, James Whale's Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein are for an entire generation and a half, maybe 3 generations now. I feel like that is the text of Frankenstein, because that's either you or you've read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the book, and you think that's it, or I didn't really like the book that much. It's not really my jam. It's not that well written. It's kind of long. That might be. I mean, that's Victorian literature for you. But anyway, the thing of it is like, I feel like this movie kind of proves that it's really a losing battle if you're trying to adapt the Whale / Universal thing and try to make that your thing and put your spin on that. You're better off either going back to the original source like Del Toro does and do your thing of that, or do something radically different like, I mean, that's
not Frankenstein.
Like what? Frankenstein?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, clearly, like, they've been doing adaptations since they did the Kenneth Branagh did the one with Robert De Niro, and since that happened, they've been trying to do the novel instead of James Whale's version of the film. There's one with William Hurt and Alec Newman in it that was made for Donald Sutherland. That was made for TV too. That's very similar to the Branagh version, just to like lower budget.
You're right. From what I understand, I saw some article somewhere that said that version, which is a mini series, I think it's 2 parts. That version apparently is the single most the faithful filmed adaptation. Whether whatever the medium is, that one's the most faithful of all of them, and apparently it's kind of dull. Yeah.
Truthfully, I have a copy of it on DVD, and I've only watched half of it. Because I kind of like the Branagh version. I think that one's pretty close to the novel, because you look at the other one, it's kind of a retread of it again. Was it It's got that one's got Aidan Quinn in it at the beginning playing the cat. I really like that part in Antarctica at the beginning. It's just really really cool sequence.
Well, that's all. Well, because it also had Robert De Niro in it, and they sold it as almost like a companion piece to the Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
You're right. Yeah,
a lot more people are a lot more of that generation, and afterwards are more familiar with that one than even James Wells one.
I'm
not
still surprised.
Most people, I believe, know the James Wells films because of Young Frankenstein. I think
I think Boris Karloff's makeup and the way that he looks is just very iconic, and that image is still around all over the place.
Oh yeah, but it's more famous than the movie is, really.
Yeah,
probably, because you've seen that image like everywhere, like that.
Yeah, that's Frankenstein. When you see that, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, no other design of the creature is as famous as that, and probably never will be. That's just the way it is. And of course, like before we wrap up here, I want to put forth again, this is a Hammer podcast. So to our friends across the pond, we're just a bunch of ignorant Americans here. Maybe if you can chime in the comments on the YouTubes or the whatever you call it in Great Britain, if it has a different name, I don't know. But shout out in the comments, like what's your Frankenstein? What do you consider your generation's Frankenstein? Let us know.
I'm sure they all agree with Kevin, and it's Frankenstein.
I can attest that there's a really small audience of people who actually bothered to see that movie. I saw it in the theater, so yeah.
And that small audience is going to get a fraction of a fraction of a fraction bigger because they listen to this podcast and we're like, oh yeah, that was a thing that existed. Maybe before I was born.
It might be,
look that up.
It might be worth giving it a second chance. Maybe when they release it on 4K, I might get a copy and revisit it and maybe like it. We'll see.
I don't think anyone's begging for a 4K of that.
Can you imagine?
It could happen.
Can you imagine being? Can you imagine being the technician? Can you imagine being the technician whose job it is to scan Frankenstein for 4K? Like that's your job. It's just like.
There's worse jobs out there. They probably won't complain too much.
Oh, there's also worse films too. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Frankenstein is highly entertaining because Aaron Eckhart, that dude who can't get a good fucking movie to save his life, is a great actor.
Yeah, no, he is a great actor. It's crazy though. Yeah, it's crazy. He's had some bad luck. Really
bad luck.
Yeah, around where he's in the dark. What happened all of a sudden,
I think the problem real quick, I think the problem with him is what I call leading man syndrome, which is that when you try to cast a actor who really excels more as supporting, as the foil or as the best friend or as the bad guy, he really Aaron Eckhart is really strong when he plays opposite somebody. The closest thing you'll ever get probably to like a really good leading man performance from him is probably Thank You for Smoking. That's pretty much it.
Fucking brilliant. Yeah.
He's
still doing the leading man thing. He has a new movie coming out this year.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he has a new movie. Yeah, where's another action movie he's trying to do. I saw the trailer for it.
I think you have to, if you have him in there as a leading man, you got to have some really good character actors or supporting actors in there that are really maybe even upstage him at some point. But I think just him, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's so okay. So we need to get to rating this movie because for this movie we went off on so many crazy tangents. It's ridiculous.
Have fun editing this.
Editing? What do you mean edit this?
He's going to cut out half of it.
This is comedy gold here, folks. This is what people tune in for.
I don't really edit too much out of these guys. So let's get to rating the movie. For everyone listening, as you know, we normally do our ratings of 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. And what we do is we take an object, a quote, or saying from the film to attribute to our rating. Where on the spectrum, Dave, I'll start with you today. Dave, would you place this movie and what object or thing would you like to put it to?
So Thomas usually says a couple of things that he's thinking about using, and he gives a couple of options. I'm gonna do two, and hopefully I'm not stealing it from you guys. I know one of them I'm not, but one that I was thinking about using was a milk jug head with some paper mache on it, which is what Frankenstein's monster looks like. But what I'm going to use, what the second thing I was thinking about using was a bottle of brandy. But instead of using the bottle, I'm going to use the elegant glass of brandy that Dr. Baron Frankenstein drinks out of earlier in the film. And I'm going to give this 3.5 elegant glasses of brandy.
Yes, Doc. Very classy of you, Watkins. Very classy. You should have your own brand of brandy, Watkins brandy.
Yeah, I don't even know what brandy tastes like, but I bet it's not red in real life because it's always red in Hammer when they drink it. I bet it doesn't really look like that.
Because I don't know. Again, sound off in the comments. Sound off in the comments. What color is brandy? Let us know.
But I'm going to get some, and I'm going to put some red dye in it to make it look like the Hammer brandy, and I'm going to sip on it.
And make it your profile picture in all your socials.
Right.
So what do I do? What do I rate this Hammer sort of masterpiece, sort of thing that exists, this movie? What do I do with this? Well, I thought about a lot of things, but then I thought, what's the one thing in this movie that I liked visually the most? And it's that lab. So I'm going to give it 3.5 electrical machines exploding. Because I love the image of these electrical towers, these lit up kind of steampunk futuristic things going boom.
Yeah, they did right by the lab. It looks really good in this one.
Yeah, but seeing that beautiful thing get destroyed and explode, I think that kind of sums up not just this movie, but like, a lot of the Frankenstein or Frankensteins. So I'm going to give this, like you, Watkins, I think I'll give this movie 3.5 exploding electrical machines out of 5. Like I said, it's good. It's it's better than Revenge, not as good as Curse, but it's good.
I'm going to give it three frozen monsters in a glacier because to be honest with you, I like the movie. I really do. I just don't like the look of the monster. It's very underwhelming, and he spends a lot of time on screen in this film. And every time I look at him, I feel like I'm underwhelmed every time I see him.
See, I felt that way about the monster in Revenge. I felt that way about like the guy. I mean, he's just a guy.
Right. Yeah.
Christopher Lee as the creature, or what's his face? Robert De Niro as the creature, or even Jacob Elordi as the creature in the new one.
Okay, all of those that you mentioned are better than the one in Revenge of Frankenstein. I mean, yes, they're also better than this one, but for Pete's sakes, there's not a stitch on the face, maybe a little bit across the forehead of the poor unfortunate soul in Revenge. He's barely a monster. I mean, there's narrative reasons for that, but I mean, I'm sorry. When I watch a Frankenstein movie, I want me a Frankenstein monster. And that monster has to have stitches. That monster has to have a misshapen body. That monster has to be big. And that monster has to look like he's stitched together from the parts of other people.
Well, I think the Hammer got your notes on that because they do return to that eventually.
Yes,
I don't think they do it in the next movie, but they do.
Yes, they do.
I'm pretty sure they heard you're reflecting what other people were probably saying at the time. They're like, "What is this non-creature looking thing, dude?"
Yeah. I think I think the movie you're referring to is the last one in the series, Frankenstein the Monster from Hell.
Yeah.
I do like the monster in that. I will get to it when we get to it, but I do like that misshapen ape thing.
Yeah. Played by David
Prowse.
God bless him, David Prowse. Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Twice. He looks completely different. You wouldn't know.
All right.
Folks,
gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this very elongated episode of Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors. For everyone listening, I hope you've enjoyed or at least had fun listening to us rant and rave about this movie and go off on some major talent or tangents. I say talent. Tangents.
Yeah, I agree. Talent. That was amazing. Good job, Thomas. You did perfect work there.
We hope that you will check out the previous episodes in which we discussed the previous films in this franchise. And please remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. As you know, we are going to have some amazing more episodes coming up, so you don't want to miss those out. Make sure to also or check out our sister podcast, Conversations in Horror, which delves into the irregular horror films out there that aren't Hammer Studio films. If you like this podcast, you're going to love that one. We go into all different decades and subgenres of horror over there. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope you've had a pleasant experience, and we will see you on the next episode.
It's alive!
Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures and Something Wicked Entertainment podcast. It is hosted by Kevin L. Powers, original music provided by Dusty Ellison, produced and directed by Kevin L. Powers. Our executive producer is Kelly A. Inoka. This podcast is produced in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors is part of the Conversations in Horror podcast franchise and is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures. No part of this program can be used without express permission from Broken Lighthouse Pictures.